Fox 4 News at 9. Noah is this man's son, but a mother's mistake lost him.
I would give anything to take it back.
I just thought the laws would be followed and that I'd get my son back.
So why doesn't he have custody? Fox 4 with a father's battle to win his son. Tonight on Fox 4 News at 9. A station that's working for you. You're watching Fox 4 News at 9.
A Raytown father has been fighting 6 years to get custody of his son.
And no, we're not talking a divorce case here. In fact, the birth mother is his girlfriend. She wants him to have custody too.
Tonight, Fox 4's Rob Lowe takes us to an in-depth look at what's currently going on to get the son back.
To say Craig Lentz's fight for fatherhood has been convoluted and contentious is the understatement of the decade. It involves a failed adoption, a horrible car accident, and a father who says he never gave up his son, and 6 years later is still trying to get him back. In December 2004, Craig Lentz and his girlfriend, Ebenika Bond, gave birth to Noah Lentz, but only her name was put on the birth certificate. He decided to wait for DNA confirmation to ensure he was the father, a decision both would come to regret. The relationship was long distance, he in Colombia, she in Kansas City. Soon, she moved in with a couple she later says convinced her to place the baby in foster care without Craig's knowledge.
She was made to stay with these people for 10 days while they recorded prophecies and played them over and over again and told her she was a bad mother. When Abby went into their house, she had no intention of signing away her parental rights. And by the time she left, she wouldn't listen to her family, she wouldn't listen to me. I've never seen her like that before or since.
In February 2005, when Noah was 3 months old, his mom signed away her parental rights pending an adoption. Craig had no legal way to stop the proceedings because he hadn't put his name in the birth certificate within 15 days of Noah's birth, and that 15-day window had just become state law. Days later, Craig had the positive DNA results and his name in the birth certificate. Little did he know, though, that his legal battle to get Noah back had barely begun.
Well, his room's here. I mean, we've got a room for him here, and I mean, everything's ready for him to come home. Taking somebody's child against their will is what a contested adoption is, and I just thought the laws would be followed and that I'd get my son back.
By this time, Jackson County Family Court had awarded custody of Noah to this couple, Stuart and Megan Taylor. They and their attorney have refused to talk with Fox 4, but the couple's adoption was reversed by the Missouri Court of Appeals and the state Supreme Court. The high courts recommended reunification with Craig, but in reality, he only got monthly visits while the Taylors appealed.
That was until he was 3, and they cut off all visitation again after they gave them the second adoption.
The family court gave
The Taylors a second adoption after the Supreme Court had already said, you know, that can't happen, but they did it anyway.
Noah was 4 in this picture when Craig got court permission for the visits to resume.
They told us in letters that the reason why they wanted our son is they received a prophecy from God 14 years before meeting us that said he was supposed to be their child.
A child the Taylors renamed Jared when he was 2.5 years old.
Why are they so bent on changing his name? In the blog, they explain it is because they want him to be unidentifiable, you know, should anybody come looking for them. Well, I mean, that's the reason why kidnappers give. 2
years ago, when Noah was 4 years old, the Taylors moved to Texas. And then last summer, Craig suffered another setback on 350 Highway in Raytown. An out-of-control driver crossed the median and slammed head-on into Craig's car.
I said, you know, God, I have a son and I want to raise my son. And I said, please help me make it.
He was rushed to Research Medical Center where he died twice on the operating table before spending 3 weeks in a coma. 21 surgeries later, Craig spends many of his days in rehab.
I mean, there are people that are raising their children who have much more severe disabilities than I do.
But Craig hasn't seen Noah since the accident. And in one legal filing, the guardian ad litem who's appointed to represent Noah wrote, "The impact on the child from seeing the father in a less than favorable state than what the child last viewed Mr. Lentz in might be traumatic for the child."
I felt that it was a really dirty dog thing to say. In this country, disabled people have rights, and even though I'm only temporarily disabled, I mean, you can't just say if somebody gets in an accident due to no fault of their own, they don't see their child again.
A month ago, Craig walked out of the appeals court with a walker, hoping for an end to the 6-year battle.
It's been excruciating. The bill has been over $500,000.
When the Taylors walked out, they declined to speak with us.
I'm paying $676 a month for child support. They won't let me see him. They won't let me talk to him on the phone. But regardless, I've continued to pay that religiously every single month.
And in Craig's corner stands his girlfriend, Ebenika Bond. She blames postpartum depression for her decision to give up Noah 6 years ago.
I would give anything to take it back. And I was in the correct state of mind at the time that I made the decision. And, and I didn't do it with Craig's permission.
While the Taylors have gone back to Texas, Craig only has the comforts of his son's bedroom.
Adoption's not bad, but this was not an adoption.
But 6 years later, Craig knows some will say, fair or not, it may be best for Noah to stay with the couple who has raised him.
And what's been shown over the last 6 years is that they've done everything possible to keep me away from Noah. If that was allowed to stand, basically anybody could file for the custody of anyone else's child, and as long as they could play keep away long enough, they would get to keep that child.
But the question remains, would it be fair to uproot Noah?
There are lots of cases where this happens.
We asked child therapist Lisa Coleman, who has no connection to Noah's case. Her short answer is reunification, even 6 years later, is doable.
Kids can bond. Once you learn the skill, you can do it again. Even if attachments are disrupted, homes are changed, once you've acquired that set of skills, it's likely that you can use them again.
I think that it would take some readjustment, but I don't think that it's something that is impossible to do. When Noah has come on his visits, he's been very happy, and we've had a really good time. And I think that's why the Taylors have shut off the visits. They don't want us to get closer. And that scares me for Noah.
Last week, the Missouri Court of Appeals announced its decision, and it's a victory for Craig. The Taylors can no longer call Noah Jared, and they must move from Texas back to Kansas City by the end of the school year. And that's when reunification steps should begin. By the end of the summer, the High Court says Craig should be given custody of Noah. But Craig still worries the lower courts won't enforce the appeals court ruling. Rob Lowe, Fox 4 News, working for you.